Today we're diving straight into a topic that honestly feels like you're unlocking a mathematical superpower, especially if you're an 8th grade student trying to wrap your head around algebra. We are uncovering the secret to finding the nth term of a sequence. If you have ever looked at a long, ongoing pattern of numbers and thought to yourself, there absolutely has to be a better way to figure this out, well, you are in exactly the right place. Let's unlock this together.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to imagine a scenario for a second. Your math teacher gives you a pattern of numbers. Let's say it starts out super simple. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Easy enough, right? But then they drop the hammer and ask you to find the 100th number in that pattern. I mean, are you really going to sit there and write out all 99 numbers that come before it? Think of the hand cramps. Think of the agonizing pain and, frankly, the sheer amount of time wasted. Just writing out a huge list of numbers manually is tedious, it's boring, and to be honest, it leaves way too much room for a silly counting mistake. We desperately need a better strategy.
Enter the explicit formula. Now, I like to think of this as the ultimate math hack, or better yet, your very own fast-forward button. This is the massive takeaway for today's explainer. You do not have to list out a whole sequence to find the 20th, the 50th, or the 100th term. You can just use a formula to skip right ahead to the exact term you want. This fast-forward button is an incredibly powerful skill to have. Whether you are planning finances, setting long-term life goals, or, just trying to crush your math homework, this lets you make massive predictions quickly and accurately. It saves you tons of time and lets you handle really complex patterns without breaking a sweat. And this brilliantly illustrates why listing every single step is a complete waste of your valuable time. Look at the huge gap between the 3rd term and the 12th term here. We've got our term numbers on the left, values on the right, 4, 7, 10. You can already see a pattern developing, right? But why on earth would we manually calculate the 4th, 5th, 6th, and all the way up to the 11th term just to find the 12th? When you're trying to make long-term predictions, doing it the manual way just doesn't make sense.
So let's get into the actual formulas. We're going to be looking at 2 main types today, arithmetic and geometric.
How do we skip that middleman? Well, here are the keys to the kingdom. Let's break down the fundamental difference between these 2 types of sequences. On the left side, we have arithmetic sequences. Think of these as your addition patterns. The numbers grow or shrink by adding or subtracting the exact same amount every single time. We call that specific amount the common difference, and we represent it with the letter D. The formula here is a sub n equals a sub 1 plus, in parentheses, n minus 1 times d. Now, on the right side, we have geometric sequences. These are your multiplication patterns. They grow by multiplying by the exact same amount each time, which we call the common ratio, represented by the letter r. That formula is a sub n equals a sub 1 times r to the power of n minus 1. And just a quick note, for both of these formulas, a sub 1 is simply your starting number, your very first term.
Let's kick things off with our first category, the arithmetic sequences, those addition patterns we just talked about.
Let's actually test this out step by step. First, we identify the sequence. We've got 4, 7, 10, 13. Ask yourself, what's happening every single time? We are adding 3, so our common difference, our d, equals 3. Next, what is our first term? Well, the sequence starts with 4, so our a sub 1 is 4. Now, say we want to find the 12th term. This is where the magic happens. We just plug everything into our formula. The n becomes 12 because, we want the 12th term. So we have 4 plus, in parentheses, 12 minus 1 times 3. We do the math inside the parentheses first. 12 minus 1 is 11. Then multiply that by 3 to get 33. Finally, add your starting 4, and boom, we get 37. We just found the 12th term without having to write out the whole list. How cool is that?
Let's move to and see how this builds when we introduce decimals into the mix, because it works exactly the same way. The sequence here is 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. It is definitely an addition pattern, but this time we're adding 0.5 each time. So our common difference d is 0.5. Our first term, a sub 1, is just 1. Let's find the 20th term. We plug it right into that exact same formula. The 20th term equals 1 plus, in parentheses, 20 minus 1 times 0.5. 20 minus 1 is 19. 19 times 0.5 gives us 9.5. Add that to our starting 1, and we get 10.5. The exact same fast-forward button works perfectly, even when things get a little decimals heavy. Now we're going to completely pivot and leave addition behind to jump into geometric sequences, which are our multiplication patterns. Honestly, I love geometric sequences because they grow like an absolute rocket ship. Instead of a common difference, remember, we are looking for a common ratio. So let's look at this next example. The sequence is 2, 6, 18, 54. How do we get from 2 to 6? We multiply by 3. From 6 to 18, multiply by 3 again. So our common ratio, r, is 3. Our first term, a sub 1, is 2. Let's find the fifth term using our brand new geometric formula. We plug it in. The fifth term equals 2 times 3 to the power of 5 minus 1. 5 minus 1 is 4, so really it's 2 times 3 to the fourth power. 3 to the fourth power is 81. Multiply that by our starting 2, and we get 162. Notice how ridiculously fast geometric sequences grow? This formula perfectly handles these large exponential jumps, saving you what would be a massive amount of manual calculating.
All right, now it is time to put this into practice and test out your very own fast-forward button. Here are 5 challenges for you. For every single one, your first job is to ask yourself, is this arithmetic or geometric? Am I adding the same number, or am I multiplying by the same number? Once you figure that out, you pick the right formula, find your starting number, find your D or your R, and just plug in your N. I highly encourage you to literally pause this explainer right now. Grab a piece of scratch paper, test out these formulas for yourself, and hit unpause when you're ready to wrap things up. Seriously, go ahead, pause it right now.
Okay, welcome back. I am super confident you crushed those problems. Now let's smoothly transition from the math of calculating sequences to the math of wisdom and thinking ahead in our own lives.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it perfectly mirrors everything we just learned. Look at Psalm 90, verse 12. Teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Think about it. In math today, we learned how to number terms, to spot a pattern early on, and to use a formula to predict exactly where that pattern is going to end up in the long run. Well, wisdom in life works the exact same way. When you understand how to look at the patterns of your daily choices and predict where those habits are going to lead you months or even years from now, you are thinking ahead with true wisdom.
This brings us straight to a core philosophy from the Academy Godly Learner series, which profoundly intertwines biblical morality with your education. Because the absolute truth is, education without morality will ultimately hurt. You can know all the explicit math formulas in the entire world, but if your life is pointing in the wrong direction, being smart just isn't going to save you from the consequences of bad repetitive patterns. Furthermore, Romans chapter 8, verses 6 through 7 promises real peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. Connecting your education to a strong moral and spiritual foundation gives you the ultimate long-term perspective. So, I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought to chew on as we close out. What is the point of being smart, of being highly educated, if you continue to make bad choices that hurt yourself and the people around you? Math gives us the fast-forward button to predict number sequences, sure, but wisdom and a spiritually grounded mind, they give us the fast-forward button to foresee the consequences of our life choices. Strive to be brilliant in mathematics, absolutely, but more importantly, strive for the wisdom to build a life pattern that actually leads to peace. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll see you next time.